All right, everybody. We are live. We are live. Me and my good friend Ben Pappas. I'm excited about this one. We get a lot of new viewers to the channel recently. Some of you may not know Ben Pappas yet, but you're going to get them to know him tonight. So I'll give him a little bit of an introduction, all right? Ben Pappas, my friend, has done quite a bit of content with us. A former Force Recon Marine, former MARSOC commander, retired lieutenant colonel, far more knowledgeable than me. And you guys know I love to bring on people that actually I just sit here and bullshit most of the time. We got an actual expert on. So, Ben, why don't you introduce yourself to all the viewers who may not know you yet?
Hey, everybody, I'm Ben Pappas. And first of all, Nate, thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here tonight and to be here on Friday night with you, man. It's awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. And hey, everybody, Ben Pappas, retired lieutenant colonel from the United States Marine Corps, spent time in the infantry, Force Recon as a commander, infantry as a commander, MARSOC as a commander as well, too. Spent time as a diplomat as well overseas. So I've got a little bit of idea what's going on with the interagency and all that stuff. And now I'm an executive coach and help people grow their businesses and do strategy for individuals, founders, owners of executives of companies, and for businesses as well too. So, and I also got a YouTube channel that's nowhere near anything like Nate's, but it's growing, that's baby, right. Little by little.
Yeah, I had to show you guys that I have hair, dude. People don't believe that I have hair. So there you go. Man. I actually do have hair, man.
It's very stylish.
I need more of it. No, I need a hair transplant, but that's all right. It's still hanging on. All right. Hey, also for everybody who's new to Ben, make sure we got his YouTube channel. I'm going to say this quite a few times throughout the channel or throughout the video today, the live. Go subscribe to Ben. Give him some support. Ben's super knowledgeable. Also, if you're just looking for someone to give you good life advice and guidance and leadership guidance, Ben is that guy. All right. So make sure you go show him some love and support.
Thanks, bro. Appreciate that.
Pinned comment, guys. Just head over there, hit the subscribe button. He's also live over there too. So, if you want to put up two windows, have both open. It helps both the channels. So, let's before again, we're only 2 minutes in. I want to make sure we let everybody sort of funnel in before we just launch this right out the gate. What we're going to talk about tonight, guys, main subject is going to be Venezuela. We all know we don't know what's going to happen, right, Ben? But usually you don't build this massive of a force up outside of a country if you're not planning on maybe doing something. Let's start with that. What's your thoughts on how far this escalates to before we actually jump into it?
Yeah, man, there's so much to consider. There's so much at stake here when you think about, all the way from the geopolitics, the whole thing with Russia and China having invested billions in the region. The fact that, the U.S., unfortunately, whether you like it or not, we don't have the same freedom of action we had before due to the international situation. And again, anytime there's a threat, you have to have a capability plus intent to use it. So we're building up massive capability. And just what does that mean? Does it mean that there's an actual threat to Maduro and to Venezuela? Now, you have to have the intent to use it. And so I think that's something, we're going to explore tonight and see, because the capability is clear. This is fact. It's there. Anybody could fly their little drone and take a look and see it. But, getting inside President Trump's head and inside the strategy making process that's up there, we'll have to talk about that for sure, man.
And I'll pull this image up. We're going to look at this a little bit later, but for you guys to see, Ben talks about the capability here. See if can I zoom in on this? That's probably as good as I can get it right now. But as you see here, this is all of the assets we have stationed right off the coast of Venezuela here. So obviously we've got an entire aircraft carrier strike group. I mean, F-35, everything you could possibly think of. Man. Nuclear submarines. I mean, I'm not sure how many Marines we're up to now, Ben. Do you know the number of Marines?
I don't actually. I don't know exactly what it is, but
I think it was like 4,000 to 6,000. I think were stationed there a couple of weeks ago, or on the ships and everything, getting ready.
Yeah, they would at least have a MU. It might be a MEB, a Marine Expeditionary Brigade, was what it sounds like, And I'm sure some Marines out there, they'll know exactly what it is. And so, sorry guys, I don't have the official word, but I know either be a MU or a MEB. The MEF is something that would do like a Normandy or an Incheon, like major interstate warfare. And we're not there yet. We're posturing for it, but we've got this, we don't have all the authorities in place yet. Not that that's ever stopped the current,
Yeah.
leadership.
It's never stopped us before.
Right. Exactly. So we shall see. But yeah, I mean, they've got enough to do some serious damage. There's no doubt about that. It's just depending on what the overall end state is and the objectives. And again, but you're hearing out there little things right now. They're opening up backdoor channels for negotiations. So possibly an offer. Maduro's already offered to resign. He said in a couple of years he's gonna leave office.
Yeah.
But he lost the election. He lost the election. And so they're saying you need to leave now. I mean, there's no sign of him getting ready to leave. So
we're gonna talk about that too, of all the things Maduro has offered to get this to stop, and we are just saying we don't care, which is
dangerous.
It's a little concerning, I guess. But we'll get into that. First thing I want to talk about is just a little bit of history between Venezuela and the United States. A lot of people don't know this, but Venezuela used to be a very close ally with the United States. Back in World War II, they supplied us, I think, the majority of our oil for the World War II effort. And we're one of our closest allies in Latin America for years, until I believe 1976, when the socialism movement basically took control and nationalized the oil reserves. And that, as I understand it, is the real break point in US-Venezuela relations, when we kicked out Exxon and Shell and said, hey, you have to buy the oil. You don't have any ownership of this. You have anything more on?
Yeah, man. I mean,
I think with that.
You really, I mean, you're a sharp guy as always, and you always do master research, and you bring a lot. I mean, so much there. And my understanding for me is that I think you're right. Look, follow the money trail, follow the oil, follow the energy. That's what it really is. But what I recently heard from this Professor John Mearsheimer, pretty famous guy, economist, he thinks 1999 with Hugo Chavez taking over was kind of the break where the U.S. they couldn't support Venezuela anymore for a number of reasons. A lot of them are probably, values based, for U.S. values, human rights, you name it, a democracy, but I'm sure rooted in everything you're saying with the oil. And so from that point forward, we turned our backs on them and basically said, no. And I think it's important. You have to stand up for your values and what you think is right. But at the same time, when you're playing geopolitics and, millions of lives are on the line, and strategic interests like the economy, economic stability, all those things like that, and you're playing the great game against Russia and China, they could have come up with a pragmatic solution to deal with the guy. And, I think we left a vacuum, and who stepped in? Russia and China stepped in. So, that's
well, to your point with Chavez was kind of the move toward, like, the Cuba move, right? Where you kind of have that socialist communist leader take over, and that becomes, like, for us, the Red Scare. We can't have any involvement with anybody who's got communist or socialist ties. And to your point, then they turn to China and Russia, which we're going to talk about that, because that obviously is a bigger part of really what this is than just the oil. I think countering China, countering Russia is a lot more to do with this, and I'm sure we'll get into that. And then just some interesting history with Maduro. He's kind of came from nothing guy, like a lot of these communist and socialist leaders are. Stalin, Hitler, and he was a bus driver in his early days, had no high school education, worked his way up through the socialist movement, and then became close to Chavez. And through that, when Chavez died from cancer, he became the de facto go-to after that. And then he sort of took Chavez's, nationalization of the oil system and then, like, made it even worse. So he just everything got even more corrupt because he handed all ownership off to his crony buddies, right? And then now it's like so many of these countries where they're one of the wealthiest natural resource countries in the world, but they can't put food on the shelves.
Right.
So
but it's almost
like go ahead.
He reminds me a little of, like, almost like a Pablo Escobar type character, where he's doing all these horrible things. And so, on the ground information, I have a friend of mine that was from Venezuela. Shout out to Leo. If you're listening out there, man, go to DMV Iron. But he was telling me, he comes from a political family from Venezuela, and they left the country when, Maduro took over. And, he was telling me just this guy is like everything you think, like murder, mass murder, extortion, these are not good people. So similar, that's why I think about Pablo Escobar, man of the people, giving back to the people, but brutal. The way they hold power and the way they, they play power politics is absolutely savage. And it's interesting, pivoting a little bit on this, to see how we've labeled this, Cartel de los Zules, the Cartel of the Suns, as this terrorist organization. I know we'll get into that later, but who sits at the top of this? And they say, allegedly it's Maduro, but how convenient, for authorizations for what we're doing, that if we have the ability to go after narco-terrorist organizations. Oh, Maduro, you're the leader. Oh, there it is. Yep.
As it is
Perfect.
Right here.
Wow.
To your point. Exactly what Ben was just saying. Yes, breaking. Secretary Rubio a couple days ago designated Maduro's Cartel de los Soles, I can't speak Spanish, as a foreign terrorist organization. And I think this is to your point, is a big movement, because now this allows us to try to carry out assassination attempts due to counterterrorism rather than killing a sovereign nation state leader.
100%.
Which looks a lot worse on the world stage when you're just assassinating leaders of countries.
Right. 100%.
But if they're terrorists, like Soleimani, we were like, well, he's a terrorist, so we can do this.
Right. Exactly. And I think, it's like you look at then, so the legalities, and you're setting legal precedents, and, where the Article 2 for the president's right for self-defense, tied with, the cartel's operations fall right into the right for self-defense, according to what the DOJ wrote up for their findings. And, so you have pretext. And a lot of these things, in my opinion, are an ability and in a, with the idea to cause fear and instability in the opposition, in Maduro, in his cronies, so the whole thing is with this Cartel of the Suns. This represents the military uniforms that have suns on them. And so it's really these officials, it's operated by officials of the government, by military officers, so it's, so really just by designating them as narco-terrorists, as a terrorist organization, the gloves are off for many, many different parts of our military. Still probably not full action, but soft. This is, all the way, as so.
Yeah. And I want to talk about sort of the build up to how we got here, because I think some people kind of feel like this came out of nowhere. Like all of a sudden we just had, 10% of our naval assets and 6,000 Marines off the coast of Venezuela. People were going, what's happening here? But Trump has actually had a lot of bad blood with Maduro since his first term. I think I found a clip the other day of it's 2017 where he was complaining that we hadn't removed Maduro from power yet. And he was talking about how much oil there was there,
Wow.
And so it's kind of the thing that I think Donald Trump in America, we've wanted to remove this regime from power for a long time. I think for a lot of reasons. I think for your Russia-China connection, and also, the natural resources. It's tough to argue about that. I don't know if you're familiar with the oil there, but I believe it's the largest oil reserve in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And also the shipping lanes are such a big deal because it's a 1-day shipping from Venezuela to the United States. And it's 30 days from the Suez Canal, where most of everything's coming out of.
Wow.
So if we could sort of get 100% control of that, but my question to you would be, that's what I figured the main thing was oil. But then Maduro offered Trump all the oil, and Trump now came out a day ago and said this, that he's going to cut off all purchases of oil completely. We're not going to get any oil from Venezuela, which makes me feel like, well, okay, that puts a little screw in my theories of strategy here. What's your thought on that?
I think that it's an economic weapon, right? So we're trying to use the whole, dime, diplomatic, information, military, economic pressure. We've already done sanctions against them. We've done designations of the narco-terrorist organization, so we've done all these things. The last resort is really the military. And, as I've heard it said from, former U.S. ambassadors, there's no easier way to negotiate or easier time than when a carrier battle group is sitting offshore. So just that alone makes a huge difference. And so, but you've got to, the air that they breathe is the money, the agency, the ability they have, the opportunities they have is all about the money. And so, and the connection with Russia is huge as well, because Russia sits on the OPEC plus, the OPEC plus organization with like Kazakhstan and Mexico, but really Russia and Saudi Arabia are the ones that can decide what the pricing is for oil. And so if Russia decides to, change the oil price, they can put cash in Maduro's pocket. And so, Putin has this card, is this little, feather in his cap and this ace up his sleeve. He can mess with us in the Western hemisphere by emboldening Maduro, by giving him more money, by messing with the oil prices, So there's a whole big thing going on between Trump, Putin, Maduro, this triangle, like a love triangle, you could say, but it's a hate triangle. And so I think somewhere in there, everything you said is spot on, obviously, with the world's oil reserve and the shipping. I didn't even realize that, the 1-day shipping, all these things. But I think it's another tool to cause real pressure to get, if they can, like Sun Tzu, said, the classic bloodless battle. If we can get him to step down and claim victory without shedding blood, without, all those things, then, or without shedding our blood, actually, then we win. But Maduro, he's nasty. I think he's going to want to draw us into something. He's going to want to make us pay the price unless his own people within can shake him down. And so we're trying to cause that pressure, that instability through fear, through, hey, like we said, don't get on a boat, all these things like that. But that's what I see. I think it's one more thing to cause that pressure.
Yeah, and he came out and said this a couple days ago too about potential war. So I wanted to listen to this.
People, United States, listen to me. War of Caribbean, war South America. No. Peace. Yes. Y es una tarea que les doy desde aquí a todas las fuerzas populares, sociales, políticas, militares, policiales, a todas las fuerzas de la patria, a no caer en provocaciones en ningún momento, pero a movilizarse con fervor patriótico para decirle: fuera de aquí, barcos imperialistas, fuera de aquí, amenazas militares.
All right, so he's saying we just want peace. We're not the ones doing anything wrong. It's this big bad imperialistic America that's got their ships and are threatening us. So I mean, I get the strategy here, right? Like poor Venezuela, poor Maduro. He's just a leader of the people, and it's big, mean imperialist America coming in to bully us again. But in fairness, I mean, he has offered Donald Trump pretty much, he said, we'll give you whatever you want if you want peace. And I'm not sure, what's the legitimacy of what he's saying there. Is that would he actually, or is this one of those on the world stage of like, look, I'm peaceful. I'm trying to do everything to make peace with America and give them what they want. And big mean America is still going to bomb us and invade. You think is he using a tactic, or is he willing to just, because he said he would step down too?
I mean, I think he's afraid at this point. I think he's afraid, honestly. I mean, Donald Trump is born from the Roy Cohn school of negotiating, right? Where, the New York real estate negotiating, where you destroy the opposition, right? You can reach a deal, but behind closed doors and other, you've seen the movie The Apprentice and all these things. I'd read books on him years ago before he was president, and you hear how nasty and hard that environment is. And I think Trump senses weakness. And he is pressing his gains right now, and he wants to have total capitulation, total victory. And he also realizes that like America first reputation is on the line too. Like, what does it mean? Are we gonna say,
yes, that's a great point.
Yeah,
man.
you ready? Okay, you want to quit now? Okay, that's cool. No, he's like, no. Like we gave you this chance. You wanted to play big dog before. You want to play big dog. Big dog's here. Now what?
Yeah.
So
it's almost to your point of like, it's almost calling an America first bluff, right? I think Maduro knows President ran on being the president of peace. And it's like, yeah, invade us, dude.
Yeah, you're right.
Start another protracted 20-year war and watch what happens to your legacy. And I think Maduro knows that, and I think he's bluffing. I don't know if we're both bluffing. If this is like,
I think I think you're right.
A little
for
bit
sure,
both ways,
for sure.
You know,
the only difference is I would say is I think you're 100% right. That's a great observation because the America first is actually don't go. But I think like, you know, America pride, like, you know, Team America type, like we're going to come down there and do what we got to do. Because now, you know, you pissed us off and we're going to come and shake you down. Now, the only thing is when you're both bluffing, Trump can go and take basically, if you took like a pool cue ball on a string, he can go like this and whack him on the head. And I'm just bluffing. And Maduro can't do anything. He's like, get over here so I can punch you. No. Whack you in the head again. So you can keep, you can cause him pain.
You can't strike one of our destroyers.
No.
Like, because then we'll just be like, okay, well, now you attacked us.
Right.
And
exactly.
And now we're going to invade your country.
Right. And so I think he knows that. And the negotiation gets easier when you apply pain, when you apply so much pain. And after a while, from within, the loyal become disloyal. And next thing you know, Maduro's in the street, you know. So
and well, we have seen that happen in some other Middle Eastern countries that we've done that too.
For sure.
Now I want to talk about the naval assets. We pulled this up earlier and talk about what all is here, because you're going to understand this better than I am, because I'm not a Marine guy. I'm not an ocean guy.
I learned a couple things or two about this stuff.
Yeah, so I want to pull up our wood war footing here and look at everything we got. So we obviously had the Gerald Ford aircraft carrier strike group move in. I mean, you can see all this, like all these destroyers. I mean, what is this comparatively like to what we may have had off the coast of like the Gulf in, you know, Desert Storm or the GWAT or Vietnam? Is this a substantial buildup? Would you say?
I would say so. Yeah, I would say so. I would say it's a substantial buildup. I mean, I think the differences in technology today with the fire control systems and all of that, and all my surface warfare friends out there that really know this stuff, just bear with me. This is a Marine talking about Navy stuff, so come on. But I know a little bit. And so, you know, you have Tomahawk missiles that can be flown, you know, shot out there, fired with precision. You've got the carrier strike group that has, you know, all-weather air attack, you know, air strikes all the time happening 24/7, can just keep going and going, cycling, you know, the deck cycle on that. But I mean, you have submarines, attack submarines that, you know, they can, and these submarines they can just launch the TLAMs as well too, the Tomahawk land attack missile. So you've got all these things, and we're not even in all you guys know in the audience, like we haven't even talked about the special operations forces, and we haven't even talked about drones yet. We haven't even talked about all these things. We haven't talked about, you know, our ability to basically do cyber attack on you and shut everything down, shut your systems down. We haven't talked about, you know, all these different things that they can do, and really make it a bad day. Interdict all your shipping, so you stop getting, you know, your shipments of things, and interdict your supply chain, your logistics. The people start revolting with food. You know, now they have their own oil, but not if we start smashing refineries, or we start smashing critical nodes for maybe not the actual refineries, but the critical nodes that allow for shipping. We kill all the trucks. We kill all the trucks. You know?
I have actually a map of here.
Okay.
Is there actual which I think is going to be interesting when we start talking about where the oil comes from and where it's shipped and refined at. So if you see, to your point here, Ben, the oil is actually all in the basin here. That's sort of actually a lot further south than all the population centers. But all the refineries are right on the coast, right where, to your point, I mean, we could destroy like all of the refineries are here on the north side.
Right.
Like these are all refineries right here. Right. These are the refineries all right alongside the coast. To your point, I mean, our destroyers could.
Yeah, they can make mincemeat of everything.
Destroy those without anything, let alone the fact that we have B-52s that they can go straight with, like, a lot of our air assets can come straight from America because
I agree. I totally agree. And I think the big thing will be for President Trump, you know, the question is, so we win the battle, but we lose the war. You know, is it we don't want to have like a Vietnam type of thing where, you know, he's up there, look, peace, no peace. And then, you know, next thing you know, we're in there, you know, we're causing disaster in the ocean from, you know, smashing refineries. And
we're getting a little ahead of our skis because we're going to get to this, but I think it's a great point you just brought up, because we're going to get to what does a protracted war turn into, which is what could very easily happen here. How do I back that out? So as you see here, the actual oil basins. So you have the big, or again, I can't speak Spanish, guys. Sorry. Orinoco heavy oil area. This is the massive basin. And then the actual oil fields just north of that. Okay. Well, when we talk about, let's say we were to invade and actually take over, well, there's another map that I think is actually very interesting.
Okay.
When you pull this up, the topographical map.
Wow.
Now the entire basin is right here near this heavily jungled, forested area, which, as you know, if you're trying to pull the oil out of here, and I would assume most of Maduro's military will flee towards the jungle and turn it into a FARC style, insurgency like in Colombia. And so those oil fields are going to be right there along this jungle line, to where you're just going to get hammered by these, terrorist attacks and different things on your oil basins, and your oil actually trying to pull the oil out of there. Which I think could become a huge problem, to your point of, like, you invaded, you took over. Regime change doesn't mean that, like, and we know this from the global war on terror, that doesn't mean the war's over just because you changed the regime.
You break it, you got to fix it. You broke it, you fix it. I mean, I think and again, this is the thing, like where you're saying is, how far do you want to push this? Because then if we go in there and you get hot-headed and you do this, I mean, first of all, we have so many leaders back in DC, national level leadership that are pushing against this. I think where we would look to see this becoming a reality of actually going in there and smashing them and having regime change is if we have a change to an AUMF, an authorization for the use of military force. Because right now we have, I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head. I just covered this, but it's the International Somewhat at War Agreement. I don't know. Everybody forgive me. It's something to that effect, but it's never been done before. That's why I don't even know what the name of it is. But it's never been done before. It's an agreement that we're saying, well, this is allowing us to go against the narco groups. And Maduro is the head of the narco groups, right? And so, but when we have an AUMF, that's actually Congress also, that's like passing a resolution saying, okay, we're not fully at war, but we're authorizing the use of military force. Like, then we have a declared theater of conflict, things like that start flowing from there. And that's when you could actually see, like, the Marine Expeditionary Brigade going in, smashing, followed by the Army coming in, and the whole deal. And if that happens, guess what? We're probably going to be strapping our uniforms back on and getting, maybe not going here though. We might be going, towards Russia or somewhere like that.
Yeah. Now that's going to bring us into, before we do that, typically for regime change, what we would like to do is to use the CIA and different special operations units to just remove you from power, which we actually have Donald Trump, I think, a couple of weeks ago, which was weird that we just straight up announced that we were going to use the CIA to try to remove Maduro. But we actually, and Ben hadn't heard about this. I think I just learned about this through Chris Cappy's video. The CIA actually tried this, and I got a video. We're going to pull up Chris Cappy's video and let him explain it. We tried to pull this $50 million bribe off to Maduro's pilot to get him to fly him into Puerto Rico. So I didn't realize this even happened. Some of you guys may not have seen this, but let's watch this so we can see what the CIA just tried to pull off and got caught doing.
Revealed from their sources that the FBI ran an elaborate rendition operation against Maduro. Rendition is another word for kidnapping, but the good kind, the kind that has lots of paperwork and is used against enemies of the state. Edwin Lopez, an agent with the U.S. Homeland Security Investigations Unit, was called in to look into some suspicious pilots and their jet that they seized in the Dominican Republic. These pilots were conducting some routine maintenance on their jet. It all sounds innocent enough, but they were doing it illegally because their Venezuelan aircraft was sanctioned. So by simply servicing the private jet out of the country in the Dominican Republic, this was a criminal offense in and of itself to the United States. Agent Lopez used this as leverage against the pilots when interrogating them about the seized aircraft. He pressed them on who they fly around, when they do it, where they do it, what celebrities and athletes are they ferrying, and where. Lopez then asked if they'd ever flown someone by the name of Nicolas Maduro in their jet. The chief pilot, named Bittner, admitted that he did frequently fly Maduro around. According to insider reporting, the U.S. government then offered Bittner, the chief pilot, a deal. All he had to do was secretly divert their next flight with Maduro on board to a U.S. airbase, and America would then capture him and incarcerate him. And America would make him filthy rich, $50 million richer, which is a full bounty on Maduro's head. If that sounds crazy, remember that's pretty much the exact same plot that worked at capturing the top cartel bosses from Mexico in 2024. This move is now the FBI's go-to signature kidnapping hat trick at this point. But would that offer really be enough? No amount of money could guarantee Bittner's safety. That pilot knew he would always be looking over his shoulder for the rest of his life if he took that money. He might never be able to go home. But the pilot wrote back a final defiant text saying he would never betray Maduro like that. And the U.S. intelligence community was shocked at being left on red like that. In response, they fully crashed out and went hard on him. U.S. officials posted on X compromising photos of the chief pilot where he was seen talking to Venezuelan opposition leaders. No one is more catty than federal agents that have been let on. This post could have been very embarrassing for Maduro, and it could have gotten the pilot Bittner life in prison for his treasonous activities. Because the post quickly went viral, it was seen by 2.8 million people, and this forced Bittner out into the open and panicked President Maduro. From flight tracking data, it looked like his private plane took an immediate U-turn back home while it was up in the air. Maduro's government clapped back and made their own counterpost, denouncing what they called quote-unquote opposition lies and praising the pilots for their loyalty. The spy v. spy shadow war here is between...
All right, so
Wow.
we almost had him.
Whoa.
And that pilot turned the plane around and did not take the $50 million. So
that's crazy.
So the CIA's already been after it, right?
Yeah.
Like already attempting to apprehend him or take him out, which I think that's a wild story.
That is a
You know what I
wild
mean?
story.
What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it really makes me think of, the movies are great, but this stuff in practice is a lot harder. It's definitely worth it. The juice is worth the squeeze. It's a, high risk, high payoff, and low chance of it succeeding, but it worked in the past. But again, my mind starts thinking of what would actually work to eliminate him. And fortunately or unfortunately, it's probably some type of kinetic strike, It's just, that's the proven method. And a lot of people like to see, the ultimate ninjas going on the ground and doing things, but that has so much sketchiness and danger to it. So many things can go wrong with that as well too. But yeah, I just think, again, knowing the human terrain and how well, sometimes the coercive pressure works to make people do things, but usually, so a lot of the times, and careful where I tread with some of the stuff, but a lot of the times you want to find out what the core vital human interests are. Something I work with my clients as well too. What are the deep-seated motivations, key motivations, the core vital human interests, human needs, things like that will cause someone to do something. And a lot of times when they can find this vulnerability, they're chinking their armor, which it doesn't sound like he had. They're pressing coercion on him and money. But usually
it didn't work. 50 million wasn't worth it.
Yeah, it wasn't worth it in the end. So there's got to be something else there when you're selecting a candidate to do something like that. Some kind of grievance. Usually it's a grievance. We want to kindle the grievance so that they have high motivation to betray their country, to spy for them, things like that.
Right.
So
yeah, and a guy like that, it's not just him. If he's got a family, he's got kids that are in Venezuela. I mean, is $50 million worth it if you know your entire family's going to be executed?
Yeah, you can't spend it.
They would be.
And then they'll poison you somewhere. Someone loyal to Maduro will poison you in the States or wherever you are, So that's crazy stuff, man, for sure. Yeah.
So when and I talked about this in a previous video of Venezuela, sort of what you were just talking about. There's kind of a tiered approach to regime change. I mean, ideally, you pull that off, right? Like you're good. Zero kinetics. You don't got to throw any Tomahawk missiles. You got to have the CIA route first. Step 2 is usually like airstrikes or like some type of kinetic airstrike or Tomahawk missile or whatever. And then step 3 is you got to put boots on the ground.
Yeah.
Like sometimes, as we've seen, somebody said my mic. Uh-oh.
It's crackling a little bit, just a touch.
All right, hold on, guys.
That's just excitement, everyone. That's just the power of the information flowing out. So yeah, but I think that's part of it though too. Like you said, you have that tiered approach. You've got at the top level, if you can pull something like that off, the classic bloodless battle, then you have after that strike with Tomahawk or airstrike. And then you're looking at boots on the ground, but the collateral damage with the boots on the ground is the big thing, to getting a leader like that, and how much we have to smash, like how long it took to get to Saddam Hussein. We finally got to him. And, to hear Bobby talk about it the other day, you're just slamming toes into a building, and, the 82nd Airborne, 101st, whoever it was slamming toes into a building. And you had other guys, soft elements there, obviously, finishing the job. But it took a lot to get there to him. They're going to have rings around them to protect them. So,
all right, let's make sure my mic's working. Are we good?
It's a little crackle.
We don't want it.
So yeah, but I think that's a big thing.
Keep talking. I'll be right back.
Okay. All right. So yeah, everybody. I mean, I think this is the big thing to consider. When we're doing regime change, again, starting at that covert operation level, and then we're breaking it down to airstrikes, kinetic strikes, Tomahawk land attack missiles, drone strikes, things like that. But part of it is we got to consider the authorizations, right? The authorization. Hopefully, we want to follow the legalities of this and actually have some legal support for what we're doing, authorities for what we're doing, because their Title 50 is intelligence authorities, and Title 10 are the military authorities, and so there are all these things we have to consider. But Nate, you want to check?
Yeah, checking.
One more time.
Checking. Can you hear me?
I hear you great. There's a little bit of static, but I hear you great.
How about now?
Still a little bit.
Well, that shouldn't be any. Fuck.
You're still coming through fine though. But yeah. And so everybody, so that's a big thing. I think looking at the titles and authorities, like right now, the president's using Article 2 in self-defense of the country. And the next level from there is, having that authorized use of military force. And again, designation of the whole group as a narco-terrorist group, with Maduro sitting at the top. Makes it pretty convenient that I would argue we're not actually going to have to go in and smash the whole country, because every official, okay, so picture every military official, every politician, everybody in the Cartel de los Soles, okay, forgive my Spanish, everyone in the Cartel of the Suns, which is that symbol on their military uniform, every single person that's basically a high-level official is involved. So we could arguably, by this authorities we have right now, go in and conduct strikes. We could go in there with soft boots on the ground, okay? We could go in there with airstrikes, Tomahawk land attack missiles, all these things. And so what I would say is that the biggest point that's been made is creating and designating Maduro and his organization as a terrorist organization. Because once you do that, now we can say, I can do whatever I want, Maduro, so you got to listen to me. And the whole point with this process, and you get in the negotiation of it, is that people are more willing to negotiate when there's violence against them. Okay. I mean, I'm just saying it. I don't even want to say that that's real. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to act like, okay, this is a real thing. And I want to tell you that, peace is the way. Yeah, I want to say it, but it's not. I mean, it's proven that when there's someone trying to get something, like an organization, a country, a rebellion, a movement, right? A political movement's trying to get something from the opposition. A lot of the times it's going to take coercive force. It's going to take violence. It's going to take all those things. Okay. And so I think, looking at that and looking at the fact that we have all of these weapons arrayed against him, and despite Russia, despite China, I mean, people can say all you want. Oh, they want to. You think that Russia and China want to fight us in the Western Hemisphere? Okay. Now, Taiwan, 100%. Chinese are going to get after it, right? That's going to be a bloodbath. That's going to be rough, kinetic, destructive. Russia in Ukraine, Russia in Eastern Europe, Russia in Russia, 100%. Violent, crazy, World War III type stuff. Russia and China in the Western Hemisphere against the United States, a naval power? Come on, okay? So Maduro is trying to say, and I've seen some things on this too, and you guys that were with me in my live before, you've seen this, but, I talked about this. But Maduro's talking about, it's not just us. You're going to be fighting Russia and China. And he's rallying his people. Really? Where are their ships? Where are their people? Now, I will tell you, this week, a few days ago, with the naval buildup and all this stuff like that, Russia did land, I think it's an IL-76 cargo transport plane that usually carries war material, weapons, technology, and advisors. Okay. They usually carry mercenaries and advisors. I've even heard through a rumor mill that the Wagner group has been is going to focus now on Venezuela. Okay. And so, you can put it in the chat, what you know about that as well too. And, stir up the conversation, but that's, I think, about all you're going to get while Russia's tied up in Ukraine. Okay. And so Maduro knows this. He knows that Trump's got his number right now. Now, if Maduro can survive long enough that we lose political support at home, okay, or he can cause some casualties on our side or make us do something like smash an oil refinery, political will is going to turn against us, okay? Because, again, the more that we get dragged into something that's spending a ton of money, so much money to be present in that part of the world, okay? Ton of money. We're expending time, resources, money. Meanwhile, at home, people are suffering. Prices are up, all stuff like that, right? Or they can make the propaganda say that. I heard President Trump today say inflation numbers are down. I've heard other people say they're up. Who knows? Okay. I just know how much groceries cost when I go and I buy things that are food costs. I see that. Okay. And gas prices, all those usual things that we're all measuring on our own. Okay. But Maduro's no fool. He's a master of this game. And he knows if I can get him stuck in this long enough, right? If I can get him in this whole thing long enough, then, he's going to lose support. He's going to look stupid. But we all know President Trump. And once you have tested him and you've gone against him, he's never going to stop. So, he's not going to stop. And my personal prediction, though, is to see increased coercive tactics, coercive efforts against Maduro, against Venezuela. And if we can't get to Maduro, we'll start getting around his inner circle. That's how you do it. You start eliminating the inner circle, eliminating the vanguard of the vanguard, Soviet style, okay? Until he has no supporters left, until we can get the big dog himself. In the meanwhile, we're having back channel negotiations. We are, we're negotiating. We're giving him an off-ramp, a chance to leave, or his people to get rid of him. Okay, and that's a big thing. So let's talk about what it would be like. Hey,
am I back? Am I
perfect? Yeah, sounding good.
Oh, I got to change out XLR cable.
Great job, dude. Sorry. I would be so lost. I would just you'd have me on the caveman camera right now.
Panicked, but we got it. All right. Hopefully, I don't know where you were at with that, but
I recovered all the
what
you were saying. Recovered the CIA to strikes to boots on the ground authorizations. Then I started talking about what's going through Maduro's mind and Trump's mind for negotiation, pressure, coercion, Russia, China. But we could pick right back up. I just expanded on what we were just talking about. Right, everybody? That's our story. We're sticking to it. Don't tell them I was talking about Pokemon.
All right. So, yeah, we talked about obviously if the first two fail and you have to put boots on the ground. I want to get into what is and this is really why we have Ben here for the real expertise, because I have no idea how this works. What is a amphibious assault of Venezuela look like? And
it looks beautiful.
I've got I got another map of all of Venezuela's military bases.
Nice.
As you can see, they are. Let me get them. I got to get all my files pulled back up here. As we can see here, they are all on the coast, or near the northern coastline of where we would be. I'm assuming where we would have to amphibiously assault.
Yeah. Wow.
Which would be pretty nasty. What would this, let's say we're like, hey, we're invading Venezuela.
Yeah.
Can you walk us through what does that look like from, obviously, we've got all our destroyers, all our naval assets sitting off the coast. How does that look? How do we initiate that, would you say?
Well, I mean, first of all, obviously you're going to get the intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance assets going. Reconnaissance assets, a lot of satellite predators. You're going to probably have reconnaissance troops on the ground, combined with special operations forces as well too. Anywhere from, if we're actually going to do a no kidding amphibious landing, and if it's an opposed landing. So we're going to make sure that we know exactly where the best landing place is. We're not going to land in their teeth if we don't have to. We're going to select a position that, might be very, very surprising, like the landing at Incheon in Korea. There's only a small amount of time during a small part of the month that would allow us to land at Incheon at this place, and they thought that, so they really didn't defend it that heavily because they thought, well, there's no way they're ever going to do that there. And so we're going to use the element of the surprise. Surprise is very valuable for as well too. But then, of course, you and I both know we're going to pound the hell out of all their defenses. We're going to take away their air cover, their anti-air defenses. We're going to take away their ship-to-shore missile systems. We're going to make them blind. We're going to shut off any radar, any type of early warning, any ISR they have, any drones. We're going to have dominance of the air. First of all this is a precondition before we go in and do this thing. It's not like Iwo Jima style where it's like, or you're Saving Private Ryan, and you and I both have family members buried in Normandy. Unbelievable, greatest generation, what they went through, man. And, I'm happy to serve when I serve, but that was insane stuff in Normandy. So not like that. We don't do those things anymore. We fight smart. We fight sneaky with deception. But then when we do go in, it's usually through vertical envelopment at first with a helicopter assault, to get in behind the rear areas, boat company, Amtrak company, landing cushion assault aircraft, the LCACs that are the hovercraft. Super cool. Everyone's ever been in a hovercraft. It's wild, man.
I think, Ben, I'm pretty sure I have this. I saw what I thought was what you were talking about. Hold on. Keep talking. I'll see if I can find this, because I've never seen this before, but I was going to ask you, I'm like, what the hell is this thing? So I'll see if I can find it.
And so we do a big exercise every year, everybody. It's called, at least it used to be, right? This, I'm getting a little bit long in the tooth here from being in the Corps, but we used to do this thing called Colonel Blitz. It was a massive amphibious landing exercise where, had companies of Marines flying in, behind enemy lines. You had the frontal assault going on. You had tons of airstrikes, aircraft, suppression of the enemy, destruction of the enemy through air assets, naval bombardment. At San Clemente Island, they're pounding away on the, on the targets there to simulate the landing. And so a lot of the times when we're going in at that point, it's that we've softened them up to the point, or we've reduced them to the point where, the Marines shouldn't have to be eating machine gun fire as they're coming off boats, amphibious, assault vehicles, the AVs. They're actually, believe it or not, everybody, if you're Marines out there, you know what I'm talking about, but you're in the ocean, they drop the gate, the sea gate, the well deck. The ship floods. You're in this, there it is. That's the LCAC, but you're in this. Those are wild.
This is what I was looking for.
Yeah, those are wild. I've been on those too. And those are super cool. And the guy who flies that, they call it flying.
Just go right onto the beach.
Yep. The pilot's a Navy chief,
and they can move around on the beach too.
They're unbelievable.
Crazy.
They're fast. They're super fast. So I'll tell you a story about that too. But they flood this well deck, dude, and you go off the back, basically in like a Bradley fighting vehicle. I remember I was like, I hope this really works. It's called the Archimedes principle that causes this metal thing to float. Okay, the physics of it. But I remember the first time I splashed tracks, I was in Southeast Asia, and I'm like, man, this at first didn't seem like a big deal, but I'm like, this is nuts. I don't want to drown. I'd rather jump out of an airplane. This is nuts. And then I was like, and when it came up, everybody in the track, all the Marines go, cheering in the back. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't even know this thing exists. Oh, here you go. They're driving They just drove an Abrams tank off of it.
Tank. And it's so fast. They have usually in the well deck of like a big amphib, they've got like 3 or 4 of these things. So imagine you put a platoon of tanks on the enemy's flank. Imagine M1 Abrams gets on the flank of the enemy, and these things are moving 60 miles an hour inland to hit an objective. And so you've got the LCACs. Now I'll tell you a story. I was an LCAC in Sea State 4. Any of my Navy people know what I'm talking about. Super choppy.
Yeah, I do.
Everybody's throwing up, Nate. It was so bad. I looked at this one guy. He looked at me. We're going rrr, rrr, smashing. All of a sudden, he looks at me. He goes, he like threw up all over himself, brother. I swear I was
Oh my
holding on. I was
gosh.
holding on for dear life. Everybody in the cabin's throwing up. I made it off there without throwing up. I was, but I was dying. I should have just thrown up. I would have felt better. So bad. Take it a whole nother direction. You guys didn't know we're going in.
Yeah, I didn't even know those existed until I was looking at stuff of what was going on down there, and I saw this giant hovercraft like roll up onto the beach. I was like, what the hell is that thing?
When you fly back in the ship, it's wild because it opens up. It's like Star Wars, like the Death Star, this big slot, and you're flying in. It's like raining and stuff, and you fly in there. It's crazy, absolutely crazy.
I mean, obviously we know we prep the battlefield. We bomb everything with four corners that looks like it's military related.
Yep.
We at least clear enough area, I'm sure, to get the amphibious assault. It's not, to your point, it's not going to be like D-Day where we rush machine gun nests for no reason.
Yeah,
it's not how we're going to operate anymore. Once we get a foothold and we get in there, though, now, I mean, from what I understand, actual numbers, we can look at Cappy had another really good segment on what Venezuela's actual military power is, which is not really as great as people think. The numbers might look good, but how loyal are they? How well is everything maintained? So let's look at this first, and then we'll talk about what urban warfare might look like. Once we actually put boots on the ground, but just to see what they actually have as a fighting force here.
Has been fought in secret chats and back channels. The next one's happening in broad daylight. And the size of the U.S. military buildup suggests something far bigger than a counter-narcotics mission. Both the United States and Venezuela are mobilizing huge amounts of force. Since September, the United States has very publicly amassed the largest military force in the Caribbean since the 1980s. Roughly 10% of the entire U.S. Navy is deployed to the Caribbean by late October. And this is even before the USS Gerald R. Ford strike group with some 80 more combat aircraft arrived, with the largest and most advanced aircraft carrier in the world. Cuban intelligence is reportedly closely monitoring this buildup and sending those details to Venezuela. Now, satellite images reveal the extent of this buildup. The U.S. military is doing extensive construction with upgrading an old cold, in this case, American States in the Caribbean. That's fine. You want to, quote, guarantee peace. However, he forgot and issued a stern warning that he has 5,000 of the Igla-S anti-air missile systems that he's activated to, quote, guarantee peace. However, he forgot everyone and their mom nowadays has access to information on weapon systems capabilities. The Igla-S has a short range of 10,000 feet. It's only really good for taking down helicopters in the short ceiling, not stealth fighter aircraft. He likely mentioned those Iglas because it's more for a domestic audience. But according to high-ranking Venezuelan military officers who have actually defected and come to the United States, Venezuela's armed forces are short on resources, short on maintenance, and short on training. They claim the Venezuelan military is lousy with corruption and internal scheming that makes it far less powerful than its size on paper would suggest. According to a few sources, operational readiness across their armed forces is estimated between 25 to 40%. T-72 tanks and BTR-80 armored vehicles suffer from frequent mechanical failures, with spare parts in very short supply. Only 3 of their ocean patrol ships remain operational, and 6 of their missile frigates were sold for scrap. Their last remaining submarine is broken down. I like a surface level.
All right, so it goes on and on to their surface-to-air protections, old, outdated, SAM systems, old, outdated, far worse than Iran's. Like Iran's military and anti-air systems are like 1,000x what Venezuela's is, and
right, 100%.
They weren't really able to do much against, and we had to fly across the entire world to carry those bombings out, and there was nothing they could do about it. So, I mean, I don't think it would be any problem for us. Think about it. When we invaded Iraq, they had like the 5th most powerful military in the world, and we dumpstered them in the first week when their air force was gone. I don't think it would be any problem for us to invade. I think it turns into an insurgency type battle in the urban warfare really, really fast. In the cities. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right about that. I think it depends on the level of support he has, in the population. I think it depends on the level of their desire to continue fighting, and it depends on, like you're saying, if we go into regime change and we do all that. But I think for sure in the urban centers, counterinsurgency in the urban areas is a nightmare. That's not, not fun at all. And I think the force ratio needed to do successful counterinsurgency for, big conventional forces is just astronomical. You need to commit so many boots on the ground for that. And, you got to think, is the juice worth the squeeze? And the jungle warfare, part of that up near the oil basin is another whole other ball of wax too. But, the one thing I was thinking about too with this is that, just thinking of the whole thing, thinking through, what do they really want? What's the real end state here? And as you said, it's more than just, it's more than just narco-terrorism. It's more than these things. I think probably the highest stakes are China thinking of putting a base in Venezuela or Russia putting a base. This is where the Cuban Missile Crisis came from, because if they put that there, this is now
complicates everything a lot.
Yeah. I mean, so if we decide, so in a lot of ways, the first strategic interest for any country is, you have to have physical security. You have to secure, obviously, the borders, all things like that. But physical security these days with this type of, modern technology expands out to our hemisphere for dominance of our hemisphere. And so if we've been getting word, which due to sources and methods and means, things like that, they may not tell us, but if they have designs on putting some type of base or having a greater footprint or a secret base so we don't, know about, or we found out about it, then all of this would make a lot of sense, for why we cannot have the presence. We need to show that we are totally dominant in the region, and would do whatever it takes to keep it that way.
I think one of my big worries is with Venezuela is just like Iraq and Afghanistan, where we're already hearing, right? Like all we got to do is set the conditions and maybe put boots on the ground, and the Venezuelan people will rise up and they'll partner with America and we'll bring down Maduro. And it's like every time we've ever tried that, that's not what happens anywhere.
Right.
We always end up in a nasty, protracted counterinsurgency battle, right? Where you can remove Maduro from power, but just cutting the snake's head off, actually get rid of the hundreds of thousands of loyalists that Maduro does have. I mean, the reality is you have factions there in Venezuela, and that's why I brought the topographical map back up. When you're talking about, this is in Iraq where you can roll tanks. I mean, you roll tanks in from Kuwait and everywhere else and just drive to Baghdad. I mean, you're talking about even the coastlines are fairly, hilly and mountainous. Everything's vegetated. You have the full mountain range that comes across here. And then again, you got the massive jungle right behind it. This is like not a easy environment for us to roll your conventional military into, to roll your Abram tanks into, to move your strikers into. I mean, this turns into it feels like it turns into a Afghanistan style counterinsurgency type warfare really fast, even if you do remove Maduro,
I mean, I think
at least what it seems like.
I think you're right about that. And I think, sometimes what it makes me think, after the experiences we've both had, you think the devil, sometimes, like, is there a way to turn Maduro so that, no, we're now your strategic partner?
Great example of that,
right? Yeah, that's it. We're exactly. We're now your strategic partner. You're going to get rid of all the other people, everything's coming through us. And if he'll cut a deal like that, then that's a whole other ball game. And, you keep a lid on things. You're our guy now. You're our guy in Latin America. And so, but like you said, if we get rid of him, then the devil we know, who's next? Maybe someone more psycho that's worse, more revolutionary. Or speaking of,
I know exactly who's next, and she's already promising the United States. She's basically just, hey, we'll sell. She's ready to sell the country out, which is Machado, right? And she was on here with the president's son, and listen to what she had to say. She pitched us essentially regime changing, and she's the resistance leader, right?
Wow.
So, forget about Saudi Arabia. Forget about the Saudis. I mean, we have more oil. I mean, infinite potential. And we're going to open markets. We're going to kick off the government from the oil sector. We are going to privatize all our industries. Venezuela has huge resources: oil, gas, minerals, land, technology. And as you said before, we have a strategic location, hours from the United States. So we're going to do this right. We know what we have to do. And American companies are in, super strategic position to
There it
invest.
is.
This country, Venezuela, is going to be the brightest opportunity for investment of American companies, of good people that are going to make a lot of money.
There you go. There's the money.
There you go.
There's the money.
That's the opposition leader, right? She's just won the Nobel Peace Prize.
Is she in
dedicated
Venezuela?
it. Yeah, she's the opposition. She's the opposition leader in Venezuela. Machado. She just won the Nobel Peace Prize for it. She dedicated it to Donald Trump, right? And she's on Donald Trump Jr.'s podcast.
She's the one that
talking
said you
about-
should have won this. She's the one. I hear him saying she said I should have won, and I'm like,
and she's there telling America, "Hey, come change the regime, and we'll give your oligarchs whatever they want." Right? So
yeah, I mean that sounds like the plan that's looking like it's about to go down. But the question: did she win
Right.
the election from him? Is she the one that
No.
won and someone else?
I don't think so. Or
Okay.
did she? Chattel? No, I know she's been the opposition leader, the moral opposition leader.
Because I
but
heard that he lost the
she's
election.
definitely poised to be the one who sort of is regime changed
Yeah.
into.
That's
And
wild, man.
it's everything you would expect to hear, right? Like,
Yeah.
hey, we're going to open it up to whatever your corporations want, right?
Right.
And so,
I mean,
I'm always so hesitant to believe this anymore, right? Like hey, just come overthrow the bad guy, and we promise everything will go great. Like
Right.
we did it like 6 times in the Middle East with Gaddafi, with Saddam, and it's like with Assad, and it's like it never really has panned out the way the promises have come.
It's like all these little monsters come crawling out of the hole after you're like, okay, and then all of a sudden they come pouring
here comes
out.
ISIS, and here comes
and you didn't know
you're
about
like,
this
oh.
leader and that leader who are like, don't you know the history? She's a mass murderer too. You're like, we didn't know that, and so there's
exactly.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, oh, turns out she's just as bad as the previous one.
Right.
But so, excuse me. That's why I was going to move into regime change, and here comes like the what's in America's interest, right? Because you listen to her there and you're like, oh, this sounds like a great idea. We should 100% remove Maduro from power, get rid of the dictator, put in this pro-US puppet who's going to let American companies do whatever they want. Where I've got to the point from, Ben, and I'm sure you can relate to this, is like we use the U.S. military and young men to go fight and die to get opportunities like getting your oil. And what have the American people got out of that? What did we get out of overthrowing Saddam, of overthrowing Gaddafi? Like at the end of the day, what did we really get out of that from an America first standpoint? Like gas prices aren't cheap.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
100%.
we were that was the promise of the global war on terror, is like, well, hey, at least gas prices will be cheap. And then they were $5 a gallon while we were still in Iraq and Afghanistan. And you're going, what the hell are we getting out of this? What are the American people? My question is, what do the American people get out of a regime change in Venezuela?
I mean, just dialing back really quick to the global war on terror. I think the easiest promise would have been, I'm promising you revenge. And eventually it was served, but justice and revenge for what happened. But what do we get out of this? And so I think we've got to go into national strategy making right away. So looking at how do you make national strategy for a country like the United States. So the first thing, again, like I was discussing earlier, is physical security and stability. Every country, every person, every corporation, the first thing we need is physical security and stability. So leading with that, if we can make a case that we're going to be more stable because of doing this, because of getting rid of him, is there a physical security issue? The administration would argue yes. Many of us would as well too. They had a policy of mass deportation or migration, sending them away into our country. I think to the tune of 7 million from the facts that I researched.
I think the largest immigration in Latin America was Venezuela. And by I put E in front of it, as in people fleeing and leaving Venezuela. One of the highest in all of Latin America.
Okay.
Your point.
And so that's one of them. The next is the weaponizing of the cocaine flows. When you have the fact that the cartel leader is Maduro, more or less, and his officials, maybe in the strategic sense and the leadership sense, but at the operational sense, he's connected through this Cartel de los Solas. And then so, you
Ben,
know,
hold on. People are saying this is pre-recorded because we're not acknowledging that Marjorie Taylor Greene resigned. We'll talk about it after, guys. Chill. We're not pre-recorded.
pre-recorded. Did you not see when Nate was gone?
Would I not have edited out that me trying to figure out my microphone? You fucking idiots. Come on.
That's right.
Come on, chat. Jesus.
Come on.
We'll talk about guys. We see Marjorie Taylor Greene resigned. We got it. We'll talk.
Seriously, she did.
I guess that's what chat just
all right.
happened.
Learn something every day.
Guys, we'll get to it. Let us finish Venezuela first, please. All right. Stand by.
And so we got to look at so is it credible? Is there a credible threat to our country? Are things happening to our physical security? You know, there's a quote from Maduro saying, I think at that 2017 timeframe was that I want to flood the streets with cocaine to destroy America, flood the streets with cocaine in the United States to destroy America. This is like a quote from him, something to that effect. So definitely a credible threat, in maybe not the existential threat to the United States, like the United States is going to go away, not like, you know, Russia or China or maybe any of them could do. But so there's definitely a credible threat. The next thing is economic prosperity. So if by regime change, would we stand to gain, you know, access and control of oil reserves? Would we stand to get all these deals she's talking about? It's all arguable. Can we not get that from another strategy, right? If the ends are controlling the oil, can we not cut a deal for that? Can we not put pressure, coercion, forced negotiation, get some type of deal that is enforceable, you know? And so I think, you know, why would we do it? We would have to do it for a reason that secures our country for long-term stability. We'd have to do it because we're going to gain economic prosperity. The next one that gets kind of sketchy is like values projection to promote democracy and all these things like that, which we know is
that one. We've overthrown 30 Latin American governments.
Right.
We've got nothing but socialism from it. So
And so I think we're finding
that I'm not sure we've proven that strategy has ever worked.
Right. And so maybe it's more pragmatic today. So maybe values projection is like, you know, okay, you do you, I'll do me. We meet in the middle, you know, we're safe, we're secure. So there's the difference between in international relations, realpolitik, you know, which Russia has always been known to play. And it's just power politics. You know, it's very pragmatic. I don't worry about the way you do things. Russia and China are both the same way. You do your thing the way you do it. We cut a deal. It's mutually beneficial, you know. Power politics. And the other thing is you have like neoconservatism where, you know, we have, you know, liberal interventionism, all these things where, you know, we're going around saving the world at the cost of blood and treasure for us. But I think pragmatism needs to win the day for this. And we have to really look at, as you're saying, what's in it for America. And not just near term, but long-term security, you know, because if our country, if we need to go to war with something that's going to secure us for the long term, like let's say China's putting a base there, and I say, you know, go to war, meaning we're going to conduct military strikes, then we need to do that. But these will all be the calculus going on in the Pentagon, in the National Security Council, all these places like that. So, and also in the president's head, hopefully. So,
yeah. And for me, what I've seen is like all those things you mentioned, I think can be solved through diplomacy with Maduro. Yeah. He's not, to your point, he's not, you know, he's not great. He's got a lot of problems, but so does, I mean, we just had, you know, the Crown Prince from Saudi Arabia. We just had Al-Jilani in the White House.
Right.
Al-Jilani, who has killed dozens, if not hundreds, of our brothers and sisters, is now the leader of Syria. So, like, are we pretending like Maduro is morally more reprehensible than the guy who used to hold up severed American heads on TV?
I agree with you.
Probably not. And if he's willing to offer us, and maybe this is Trump's, like you mentioned earlier, where Trump is just kind of like forcing this to the limit to really capitulate to get everything we want.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that strategy, but like the idea that we need to go in and remove a guy from power who's literally like, hey, we'll let you have whatever you want and use American blood to do it. That's where I'm like, nah, dude. Like, I'm with you, man.
I'm with you.
I don't think we need to go, you know, putting boots on the ground and bombing people in Venezuela. If Maduro was going, hey, fuck you, we're not going to do anything you say, and we're going to let China and Russia come in here and we're going to give them all the oil. Now we have a conversation, but that's not what this is from what I've seen.
Right. And I think the technology we have today, like with the strikes we did on Iran, like let's say the worst case scenario, Russia has a battalion of guys there, and they have, and they have a whole construction company they're building. Russia and China are both building bases. Russia, China, you shouldn't do it. Get your people out of there. We're going to swhack it. We don't need to put, we have such a technological advantage. And I will say this, if we were to get tied up in Venezuela, can you imagine if she decides today's the day and he wants to invade Taiwan, we're going to be stretched two-front war, and then Russia, we don't know what's going on behind closed doors with these two. We don't know if, and we've talked about this before, but are she and Putin talking, like trying to coordinate something, like you push on NATO, and if you go, I'm going. So let's talk about what are the benefits for this, because there's no way the U.S. is going to have to sue for peace. There's no way they can do both, and maintain the country the way it is without fracturing us. So, could we win a two-front war? We could win it, but the cost would be enormous. And,
our politicians are always looking out for themselves.
100%.
And you have to understand, like, if Donald Trump were to enter full-scale war, two-front war going into 2028,
it'd be nuts.
You're MAGA's dead. Trump's movement's gone. Hand everything to the Democrats. Like, it's not. No, that's not a winning political strategy for anyone, which I think is probably the biggest reason we won't see any real escalation in Venezuela. Is I think it's after the 20 years of global war on terror. I think it's political suicide right now.
I'm with you, man. Yeah. And you really think about that. Like that was like our entire careers almost. It was just like the state of it. Even if you weren't there doing it, you're thinking about the next one. It was just constant all the time.
And I don't get me wrong, guys. I think it won't be more than another, let's see, how far are we off of Afghanistan, 2021? It won't be more than 15 years before we're in another full-scale war, because we're America.
31.
And we'll forget.
2031.
Everybody will forget, right? And then like the anti-war sentiment will go away, just like Vietnam. I mean, keep in mind, like post-Vietnam was one of the craziest anti-war sentiments, and we waited 75 to 93? Desert Storm 93 or 96. So it was about 20 years, and we got right back to it.
I think, and obviously, if for special operations forces, it's going to be, a lot more than that. For the Marine Corps, things like that. They say like every 10 years, basically, you're in some type of shooting match, for sure. So a lot of interesting stuff.
All right, I think we kind of crushed the Venezuela topic. You want to hit some super chats?
Yeah, man.
And then we can talk about, I just pulled it up. We will talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene resigning from Congress, because that's happening in real time. All right, guys, calm down. We'll hit super chats for the questions, and we'll talk about it. And then if Ben wants to stick around, we can. I'm going to talk about the the Trump and Democrat fucking congressmen and the sedition.
I'll stick around for that for sure.
We'll talk about that and our feelings on that. My feelings are everybody's fucking dumb on this. I think the Democrats are dumb for what they did. I think Trump's dumb for what he said, but we'll get into that. All right, super chats. We'll talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene. I've got a hard out at 7. We're going to go over to my buddy Chris's channel. Everybody's coming with us, so we got 45 minutes to get through these, as long as Ben wants to stay with us.
Awesome.
Let's hit him. All right,
let's do it.
Spiritus Invictus Semper Fi.
Hell yeah, brother. Awesome. Spiritus Invictus, man.
We got a lot of Marines in the community. So.
Awesome.
All right. Salish German says, see Trump's ridiculous 28-point peace plan for Russia-Ukraine war. Rewards a dictatorship. Oh, man, you're going to not like my response to this. Rewards a dictatorship for war of aggression in Europe. Fully satisfy the maximalist demands, and then twist the victim's arm into outright capitulation. Guess what? Ukraine would have been conquered had the United States not stopped them. So we're here talking about what's in the best interest of people. Here's the deal. Russia fucking won the war. If you don't like it, well, in my opinion, we don't need to be funding that war to begin with. And that might be controversial, but I've held that belief since day one. I think it's a Slavic civil war. I don't want my tax dollars being spent on it. And I'm sorry that Russia took a bunch of territory, man. Like, what do you want? You want Russia to give back all their territory that they just bled 1 million people for? You think they're going to do that? I don't know. What's your thoughts on that, Ben? I
think you said it very well. It's like, as much as I don't like it, as much as how are we going to reverse it when you have a determined enemy, a determined power, like, and anybody could say, well, they're not competent. Oh, but they're competent enough to lose 1 million people and gain the territory. And as you just said, after all that, I mean, it's peace and would be the best thing. Obviously, making Ukraine whole again would be great if they just reversed course and they left. But how are we going to get them to do that?
That ain't going to happen.
Yeah,
it's not going to happen with another. With another, you're going to have to spend another $500 billion and another million, however many millions of lives.
Yeah.
And to me, it's like, sorry, man. Sorry if you, and I'm all about, if Ukraine and Europe wants to keep fighting this war and they want to keep throwing young men at the meat grinder and trillions of dollars at it, okay. But like, stop asking us to pay for it is just where I'm out on that. Sorry, guys. I mean,
yeah. And
if we can get peace and you lose some territory, sucks, man. But how are we here in America? We came here and we conquered it, guys. I mean, this is just kind of the way it goes with war sometimes. So I would rather have us have peace between, like, I'd rather have us not have things escalate into World War III, which very easily could happen in that conflict.
Yeah,
I guess, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I think
it sucks for both sides and it's not great for anybody, but yeah, man, I think it needs to end. It's enough's been enough in that war, I think. Can't be involved with anyone from socialist ties. Does that include Bernie Sanders and Mr. No, God, guys, I got to show you the clips. Did you see the clips from Trump and Mamdani today?
They're buddies. He was in there today.
And they loved it.
Yeah.
They were having a great time. Trump was talking about what an awesome guy and what a great job he's going to do.
Yeah.
I know conservatives are like, what's happening?
But Trump's pretty brilliant too, because he's like he's building bridge. People are like, "Wow, he's actually open to talking to this guy."
Well, it was like old, and I know guys in my chat knows I'm so critical of Trump. It is what it is, but like I want Trump to do well, and when he does things where I'm like, "Hey, this is old Trump, right?" And old Trump, America First Trump. But I want to show this clip because this clip is actually hilarious. I don't know if you've seen this, Ben. Where he gets,
I think I watched it live.
Zoran gets asked if if he thinks Trump's a fascist.
No, I didn't see
Trump's response is just amazing. Like I'm like, this is old Trump. This is the Trump I used to like right here.
President Trump, Stephen Nelson from the New York Post. I had a question for you, and then also one for Mayor.
Sure.
For you, you referred to Mr. Mamdani as a communist. Can you describe why you feel that way, and also will you do anything to stop him from arresting Prime Minister Netanyahu?
Well, we didn't discuss your second part of the question. And on your first part, I mean, he's got views a little out there, but who knows? I mean, we're going to see what works, or he's going to change also. We all change. I changed a lot from when I first came to office. It's now quite a while ago. It's quite a while. My first term was great. We had the greatest economy in the history of our country. We're doing even better now. We're doing much better now than we did even the first term. And I can tell you some of my views have changed. And we had discussions on some things. I'm not going to discuss what they were, but that I feel very confident that he can do a very good job. I think he's going to be. I think he is going to surprise some conservative people, actually, and some very liberal people. He won't surprise them because they already like him.
And then he also, I mean, like people are like, wait, what the hell? You think he's going to do a great job? But then he also, I thought I had a different clip. I'm sure you guys have seen it. He asked Trump, the reporter asked Zoran, you said that you think Trump's a fascist. Is that still true? And Zoran goes to start talking. He's like, well, and Trump stops him. And he's like, hey, just say yes. It'll make things way easier. And starts laughing and like pats him on the back. And you're like,
I saw that live.
Where did that Trump go, man? Like he's funny. He's like leaning across the aisle. Like we've been devoid of that Trump for so long. And it's just like, man, I still think he has the potential to like bring it back and get America first. If he could just he's got to get out of the like, we got to send billions of dollars to Argentina and Israel and Ukraine and bringing Al Jilani to the White House. Like, in my opinion, all those things are just like, whoever's is advising him needs to like, hey, we need to dial it back, refocus. What's the focus? The economy, like affordability. Like, you got to get back to what the American people are focused on and are hurting on. You know what I mean? At least what I think about him.
I think you're right. And definitely that was a great moment though. And I think it's a master stroke to show that he's open to other things and also to pull people over to his side from the other aisle too, as well. So
I mean, I know everybody was shocked. They're like, wait, what was this press conference?
All of a sudden he was in
These guys are friends and talking about how awesome he's going to do.
Right.
It's like, okay. But it's also good, man. Like you would want the mayor of New York and the president to have a good relationship and work
100%.
together.
100%.
That's another thing I'm like,
Native New Yorkers. I mean, we both care about New York, and people have said that. I've heard before saying that they have a lot in common. Their personalities, they said, actually are very similar. Both, and so it's interesting to see that. You could see Trump admired though this young guy. He's a young gun. I mean, he's crazy successful, mayor of New York at 34, right? So,
which is insane when you think about that.
Insane, yeah.
Yeah, to say what you want about his policies, I don't think his policies are going to work. I also don't think he's going to be able to enact 98% of what he's saying, but he's resonating with young people. And to your point, like a mid 30-year-old dude is the mayor of New York.
It's crazy.
It is what it is. We'll see what happens. So, what happens when we can't pay Israel and China? We are not lending no more money. What happens? We can't. Well, we borrow money from China to give it to Israel, so we could probably stop doing that. But we don't pay China. I mean, I guess we buy stuff from China, but
yeah, they buy our bonds. They buy our treasury bonds. And I'll tell you something. How do we have claws across the world? Because people are holding U.S. debt. And the moment we decide to say, yeah, the debt's not good anymore, they're like, what? And we walk away. Yeah, we're starting a new game and buy our stable coins.
Well, I was just going to say, there's a lot of theories that America might wipe its own debt out with just a blanket, like, sorry, we can't pay you back. Buy our Bitcoin. So
that's kind of what's going on. Yeah, for sure.
Then we'll probably lose being the reserve currency. I don't know. That could get scary, but yeah, you're right. All right. Can you blame the socialist countries for turning to China, the U.S. sanctioning them? How are socialist countries failed experiments when Argentina, the bastion of capitalism, needs a $40 billion bailout from U.S. taxpayers? I mean, I think that's kind of fair. I think the problem is like socialism is such a blanket term. Like Norwegian socialism and Venezuelan socialism are not the same thing whatsoever. Like, so Latin American socialism has not showed itself to work very well across the board, whether it be Cuba, Venezuela. But to me, yeah, it makes sense. Like if I was Venezuela and I'm being heavily sanctioned by the United States and I'm a socialist country, I would naturally turn towards China and Russia.
Do you think that's
Ben? If you were Venezuela, or Maduro, it kind of is the thing that makes sense to do.
You think that's a cultural thing, Nate? Like, it's like it works some places because of their kind of cultural history or infrastructure, and in other places it doesn't work, because of where they are and they have, just maybe the depth of the history and culture. You know what I mean? Like, wow.
I do think it's cultural, because what we could say is like, oh, well, Norway only has 9 million people and it's like got massive oil reserves, so that's why socialism works. But it's like, yeah, but Venezuela doesn't have a big population and they have the largest oil reserves in the world, and they have the complete opposite structure. They have all the natural. Nigeria is another one. Like, they have all the natural resources in the world, but they don't have a functioning, society. Well, Nigeria is a little bit better than some African countries, but like Norway and Sweden and Finland and all these are like bastions of like, they're the best places in the world to live. Like, they're like, it is what it is. There's no arguing that.
Right.
What's the difference here? What like the natural resources are there, the government's there, the socialism's there, but like it works here, but not there. That I would have to like lean into that. Like, what else makes sense?
Yeah. I think you're right. I mean, there's a lot there, and I'm no expert in it, but it's very interesting. Yeah, sometimes it works at some places. Maybe there are different versions, as you're saying too. So,
and I think culturally, like a place like China, like it culturally works in China because they have a very non-individualistic, very sort of toe the line society naturally. Like authoritarian type regimes work in Asian countries very well. Now they have a capitalist economy, which has sort of worked for China, but from like a government standpoint,
centralized control.
As long as you do what the CCP says and you're supportive of the CCP, you can. I mean, to be honest, China, like their tax rate's lower than the United States. Like 90% of Chinese people own a home, so it's like you start looking at things like that, and you're like, oh well, it works some places it doesn't work other. Whereas you look at like communism in, a place like Cambodia, well, that went a lot different than it did in China, right?
Yes,
that ended up in a third of the country being murdered,
for sure.
So,
but I think I like your point though about some people have like that authoritarian underpinning, so the things works out better in that society that way. But yeah, I mean, there's so much to consider because is it ever true communism? No. Is it ever true socialism? No. And I mean, the state control economy, like in China, I mean, with everything you're talking about, it works there, but we'll see. The experiment's still going on, for them.
Yeah,
So,
but would it work but in my opinion, it doesn't work in America because we're an individualistic culture, which we value the individual over the collective. And I that's the way I feel because I'm an American. I'm like, yeah, I think individuals should put themselves first, put yourself and your family before broader society. But that's not the same way in Islamic cultures. That's not the same way in, China and places like that. So
but
interesting.
I've heard it said that the military is a socialist structure. Interesting.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
So like everything's
authoritarian.
Everything's for the group.
Everything is for the better. Think about mass punishment is like the go-to in the military, right? One guy gets a DUI, your entire unit's fucked. Like that's communism, baby. You're right. I didn't even think of that. We do.
I felt like I was like my bubble was burst, and someone said that, and they like really explained to me. I was like, kind of walked away with my head down, scuffling my feet.
It's authoritarian, hardcore, right? Like the guy at the top, there's nobody above him in your unit.
Big time. Yep.
All right. Retired United States Navy IDC 15th MUSOC 2001. First into Pakistan and Afghanistan. Little brother lost a leg and hand in Afghanistan later. How much more do we need? That's another one too, man, is like, I know Global War on Terror veterans. This is another big reason why so many of us are so hesitant to want to engage in any more wars. It's like, because we saw the price that had to be paid, from our buddies and our friends that are no longer with us. And like, do we want to put that on the next generation for Venezuela so we can get oil? I don't think so. Like, I think there's just causes, but I think regime changing for natural resources for me it's not a just cause anymore. I don't know how you feel about that.
Wow, we've got a lot of natural resources here, drill, baby, drill, all that stuff. We're looking for oil. We've got so much. We've got gas, oil. We've got, the greatest technology, in the world, and we have the ability to make diplomatic, solutions as well too. Obviously, we want to keep our military at the highest state of readiness and the best outfit, in the world with the best equipment and the best technology. But and Semper Fi, by the way, too. Saw the 15th MUSOC, retired IDC. That's awesome, man. Sorry about your brother. That was terrible. But to Nate's point, I agree. I mean, we want to be very, very careful and judicious with the use of force and getting involved where blood and treasure is spent, so.
Yep. All right. Joe, what's up, buddy? Says, honest question. If we cripple Venezuela's ability to produce usable oil, does that empower and embolden OPEC and Russia, as we just took out a major oil producer? Ben, I don't know. That may be more your knowledge base. I have no idea. You were talking about how that sort of trinity all works.
Yeah, they're heavily connected, Russia and Venezuela, because it's the OPEC plus, and so Russia uses their influence on the price of oil to have a strong influence over Venezuela. And so I think if we crippled Venezuela's ability to produce usable oil, what would that do? So we would create a supply problem, right? So when supply is lower, the price is going to go up. Usually, they'd have more reason to charge more. So I think we'd be, ultimately hurting ourselves unless we harvested that oil and we took it, and I think natural disaster type stuff, that would be probably not the best idea.
Yep. Great point. All right. Also, guys, another reminder, pin comment, go subscribe to Ben's YouTube channel. He's been with us for the whole episode. Go support him. You can obviously tell, incredibly smart guy, smarter than me. So
I don't know about that. Thank you though, brother. Support. Appreciate you, Nate. Right. Thank you.
So get over there, pin comment, go subscribe to him. All right. Love the channel. F Trump. But being that you're a former Green Beret, how do we know you're not trying to overthrow the government now? You don't. And neither does the government. Although I can tell you, they monitor everything I say and do. So, and
he's just kidding.
Yeah.
Until I leave.
Don't, but you won't know until it's overthrown. I'll just say that. But I can tell you, the truth is, one of the big problems for the government, if they get too tyrannical, is the fact that there is tens of thousands of Green Berets out there, and CIA operatives and guys and MARSOC guys and SEALs and like all these guys are like, hey, we very well know how to defend against a foreign government, and we know how to lead an insurgency. So, just keep that in mind.
Also,
Yeah.
also a reason why no one will ever invade this country successfully.
Yeah. Oh God. Could you imagine trying to?
There'd be so many guys being like, "Yes, my Red Dawn moment has come."
Yeah. All right, Ben. I did 21 years in the Army, most of it in the 75th. I wish I had a battalion commander like you. Much love, bro.
Hey, thanks, brother. I appreciate you saying that, man. It means a lot. Thank you so much.
I've actually had quite a few people that used to work for you reach out and say Ben was one of the best commanders I've ever worked for.
Dude, that's awesome. Thank you.
Saying a lot for an officer, because NCOs, we typically don't want to say anything nice about officers. I myself included, but Ben is not one of those guys for me. So
I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
I once on the set of Blue Lagoon. Okay.
It's huge.
All right, big $50 dono from Lord Hybrid says, I worry about destabilization of the Western Hemisphere. We are used to wars in Europe and the Middle East, but fearing having wars on our side. I just think having two giant oceans between us makes it really hard to destabilize America, man. I think we're going to get destabilized from within before we get destabilized from external forces.
100%.
I don't know what your thought on that Ben is. I just don't see anybody.
Yep. No, you said it all the way. I
think we're doing it to ourselves.
The founding fathers said that, right? We'll fall from within first before falling from out. If you want to hear something here, Nate, I got a super chat over here from Steve on my channel, and it says, Lieutenant Colonel Ben, my girlfriend just said you and Marky Mark competed for, I can't read it here.
Here it is. It's on both of ours. I'll put it up here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh no. For the
yeah, yours come in here too, dude. That's the cool thing about streaming.
Okay, cool. Did I compete for a Calvin Klein ad? At one point I had a shot for something like that, but I didn't compete against Marky Mark.
Ben also has a very large female audience base for good reasons. So.
Awesome.
Oh yeah, man. I saw some comments in here. Somebody said earlier, like, "Oh, glad to see all the ladies in the chat tonight." So we have that going for us.
Hey, babe, my girlfriend's out there watching just in case.
No. That's a good thing, man. We gotta. One of the two of us has to be good looking for the show. All right. Russia Duma officials confirmed that ill-carried Air D. Sorry, brother. Sometimes I don't know what you guys are trying to say. Nate Ben this is when I went offline. He said you just kept screaming slurs while I was gone. Great. Now my YouTube channel is going to get banned as soon as I get out of here. I'm going to be like, why is my YouTube channel demonetized?
We were singing like Old Seal drinking songs, all that stuff.
Ben was screaming racial slurs while you were
That's
gone.
Nice. That's nice. Thank you so much. Never to be invited again.
My best friend left the Marine Corps in 2019. He spoke of Marines drowning in AAVs during training, faulty doors, and people pushing deadline assets back into use readiness reasons. Would this be an issue in theater? AAVs, what's AAV?
Yeah, that's the amphibious assault vehicle. That's the Bradley thing I was telling about. That's like Bradley with tracks, and then like they dump it. It drives off the back of the ship into the ocean. It goes underwater and then comes back up. Brother, 100%, man. This is true. These things
that sounds horrible.
This has happened. Actually, a guy I know was the commander, and it wasn't his fault, but just his Marines got killed because the AV, something happened. It sunk to the bottom of the ocean and killed them all. And so I'll tell you, when you splash tracks like that, believe it or not, that's a scary moment. You're just going on faith, and hopefully it comes back up. It's nuts. It is nuts. Yeah, but then it's so cool. Then it's so cool. It's like a boat. It's like a tank boat driving in the water.
That's you Marines can keep shit like that, dude. I'm gonna pass. You guys are crazy, man. Blake says, do the people have the stomach for an insurgency? And second, do they have the regional support for weapons to continue an insurgency? What do you mean the people, the Venezuelan people? Never discount a local populace when it's being invaded, man. That's what I'll say on that. Do we as Americans have the appetite for it? I think absolutely not. Not right now. Not for what it would take.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, man. 100% on that. 100%.
But again, we've learned this lesson a lot of times. We think we're going to go in there and win the hearts and minds, and it doesn't seem to ever pan out that way. We end up fighting an insurgency. Jelly says, summary of Venezuela's strongest suits: oil number 1 by fire, iron ore top 10, natural gas top 10, bauxite top 10, gold and gold and coltan, major untapped potential. Yeah, I mean they're kind of the natural resource hub of Latin America.
It's huge.
So I get it, but like, do we need to conquer people for that, or can we do that through good trade alliances?
Yeah, man, I think you're right, Nate. I think you're right, because especially too, if we're showing the power, we're showing the dominance. You remember all this stuff like in Afghanistan and Iraq, and how, you know, you had to be the strongest tribe, you and your team, or, you know, let's say it was a company of army infantry or marine infantry, you know, or whatever. But if you have an overt presence to them, you know, you need to show you're the strongest tribe. And so what we're showing is that, no, we're the big dogs in the Western Hemisphere. And, you know, I think Trump's going to move for, as you're saying, getting, you know, concessions and getting a deal that favors the United States. And to, you know, he's going to get rid of the influence in Russia and China. I don't know if he's going to get rid of it, but he's going to reduce it dramatically and maybe be the one who is, you know, he's the boss. He's now the leader of it. You can still have ties with them, but I call the shots.
Yeah.
So that's just what I think.
Which I wouldn't have a problem with. Like if we want to do it that way, diplomatic ways of doing it, and using, that's what I think when I talk about America first, using the military and our regional power, that's America first, using it through strength and postured strength and diplomacy to get what we want. Like that's what we should be doing. I think
100%
American power,
100%.
Trillions more in debt. Yeah, we don't need to. That's another thing. Do we really need to keep dropping bombs?
Right.
The threat to invade Venezuela forces them to cozy up to Russia or China. The more of a regional threat America appears. Actually, it's doing the opposite, Jelly Bean, to Ben's point. What we're seeing is Maduro capitulate and say, hey, we will go away from Russia and China. Please don't bomb us. Because I think at the end of the day, the reality is, Ben, if we looked at China and Russia and said, guess what? We're going to skull fuck Venezuela and we're going to invade. What's Russia and China going to do? They're going to go, not our hemisphere.
Right. Definitely. But then they're going to give us problems everywhere else.
For sure.
For
sure.
Because
my point is, like, Russia's not about to,
No.
China's not about to send their military to fight in Venezuela, guys.
No. I
So,
mean, they're having problems with you. Are you kidding me? They're having problems against Ukraine
right.
with stuff that
Yeah.
we're giving them. You
Right,
know,
right.
I mean, I say this again and again, like, people don't understand until you see the power of the U.S. military in full action. And, you know, I've seen that in major cities and things like that. And it's unbelievable, you know, the
nobody
things
wants,
we can
nobody
do.
wants the smoke
Yeah,
from
yeah.
America,
No,
dude.
for sure. And we don't
No.
want to deliver it, you know, right now. So
Kangaroo says, sup guys, what do you guys have to say about those politicians that told several? We're going to talk about that.
Love it.
We're going to talk about that next. I'm trying to get through the super chat so we can get to that before we run out of time here in about 25 minutes. All right. Politicians say, we're going to move quick through these guys. Politicians say sending weapons is for profits. Yeah. I mean, for the military industrial complex, it is. Says this is for Ben, Lieutenant.
Yeah, we hit this one.
Colonel. Oh, we got this one. All right.
Yeah, we hit this one.
Nate, I don't think you realize Trump is requiring Ukraine to pay us for all future aid. I don't care. If they're pay me back $300 billion first before I give you another missile. How about that? You owe me 300 grand. You owe the U.S. taxpayers 300 billion. And then we can talk about future aid. If this is my thing too, like America first, if you want to buy it from us, I really don't have that big of a problem with it, but we don't need to give it to you. That's
we used to do that in World War II, like Lend-Lease Act, all those things like that.
Yeah, you want to buy our stuff? I'm all about it. Buy it, Israel, Ukraine, but we don't. But that's not what we're doing. We're just giving it to you, and me and Ben and all of you in the chat are paying for it. So, all right, love you, man. But keep repeating old information about Ukraine. There's no freebies. They and Europe pay for all weapons. No, they don't. We keep handing them weapons. That's the biggest threat right now. The threat of the peace deal is if you do not sign the peace deal, we will cut off all aid and weapons to Ukraine. That's the threat currently. So no, socialism is a fad. Just saying. Yeah, well, kinda, not really. Joe, it's kind of hanging in there around the world pretty heavy right now. It's getting more popular, actually. I think, and Ben, I think that's just I think the move towards socialism is a natural tendency when your society doesn't function correctly and your economy sucks. I think that's just naturally what people turn to, because they're like, hey, I can't get by on my own, so at least the government will give me free shit. I think it's a very natural thing, and I think some of it's by design.
It's the pack mentality. It's you know, survival by groups helping each other. It's all these things. You know, I mean, we have the Lockean theory with the social contract. That's, you know, what our country's, you know, founded on. Democracies are founded on, where you have a social contract. But and I think you're spot on, Nate. I mean, the socialism is definitely, it's a means of survival. It's a survival strategy for people living together, and usually coming about in the age of the industrial revolution. because you had never before you had these massive cities so condensed where, you have massive factories and things like that. That's where Marxism came from, communism. So,
Yep. And to this is exactly where what happens when you have this type of situation where he says, I think us Americans nowadays are kind of towing the line between nihilism and extremism. Yeah, because young people can't afford anything. Young people have no opportunity. The average age of did you know this, Ben? The average age of someone who can buy a home in America is now 60 years old.
What? No, I did not know that. Holy crap. That's nuts.
The average home buyer is 60 years old in America. And so to your point, yeah, of course, young people are going to turn to Zoran Mamdani and Nick Fuentes. Of course they are, because these are the conditions we're setting up for them. To Neil's point here, it's just a natural tendency. You can't have these young people not be able to afford rent and they have no labor market and then be like, hey, why aren't you guys happy about this?
100%.
It's not going to work. All right. Not from America. You're assuming that I'm insisting that USA should help. They didn't. I asked and seen the ridiculous plan Trump is trying to propose. It's unrealistic. No concessions for Ukraine. I mean, again, that's your opinion. My opinion is Ukraine didn't win the war. And so it is what it is. Sorry. If they want to keep fighting, they can keep fighting. That's up to them, man. That's their war. Jellybean says, why would anyone invade America? It would be over instantly. Just, nobody's invading.
I see what you're saying, though. You get whatever you want.
Yeah, you're right. He's absolutely right. Jelly's right. Just buy your way in it. Qatar does it. Israel does it. I mean, China does it. Everybody does it. So buy our politicians off. All right. Shout out to 3rd Battalion, 5th Marines. Lima Guns came under Lieutenant Colonel Holla Peter. Great leader. Rest in peace.
Oh man, Semper Fi, brother. 3-5.
This is a fat $100 dono to Ben. Says,
hey, thank you so much
tonight, brothers. New sub from Nate's channel. There you go.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Bruce Lee. Appreciate you, brother.
Very, very cool. That's very generous of you, brother. Yeah, for all you, again, pin comment, go follow, go subscribe to Ben, right?
Very generous. I appreciate that.
Love the channel. Venezuela, rare earth, and chips. If made here, we lose out on pollutants and air quality is priceless. Yeah, there's that too. Do you guys ever think Trump was a good candidate in either presidential runs or always sus of his motives? I was in combat during Trump's first term. I've said this 100 times. I supported Trump big time in his first term. The ROE changes he saved like my teammates' lives, people that I was downrange with. From a military standpoint, I've never really criticized Trump. I think Trump is an insanely, and again, I fought a war under him. Ben, were you still in Trump's first term?
Mm-hmm.
So Ben knows, man, like when it comes to a military president, if you're at war, Trump's the guy you want as president. I'll never take that away from him. But this term, he has not really carried through with what he's promised. And I'm going to continue to criticize that. So,
yeah, I think he was pretty banged up in between the terms too. I mean, like you got to consider everything, the hell he's been through with, the trials and all that. And I'm not saying whether his own fault or not his own fault, but takes a toll on who you were in the first term versus who he is now. And you see kind of this, he's on the campaign to get revenge and justice for grievances against him. And that's a distraction too. Yep.
A lot of distractions right now. He might be able to pull it back together. I hope so, because here's the other thing. People think like, I'm not a Trump derangement syndrome guy. I'm a conservative who wants Trump to do America first policy. And I'm going to criticize him until he does. The reason I want Trump to be successful. I wanted Joe Biden to be successful.
Sure, of course.
I don't hate any president because of who they are. If the president's successful, that means the country's successful, guys.
Imagine that.
Yeah. So that's what I want. Right. All right. Here's 20 because I'm drinking beer and love your channel. God bless y'all. Thank you very much. All right. And then last one, Kangaroo said, I heard YouTube skims around 30 to 40% of your super chats. Yes, 30%. YouTube rakes us over the coals. It is what it is, boys. All right. Now we made it. I've got, we still got plenty of time. Now we can jump into Ben talking about, let me pull this up. Let's see what these, first of all, what these Democrat politicians did. Okay. So there's all this talk about sedition and traitorous, but also people are pissed off at Trump because he's calling for lawmakers to be executed. Let's watch this together first before we give any of our opinions on what was said. All right, here we go.
I'm Senator Alyssa Slotkin.
Senator Mark Kelly. Representative Chris Deluzio.
Congresswoman Maggie Goodlander.
Representative Chrissy Houlihan.
Congressman Jason Crow. I was a captain in the United States Navy.
Former CIA officer.
Former Navy.
Former paratrooper and Army Ranger.
Former intelligence officer.
Former Air Force.
We want to speak directly to members of the military
And the intelligence community.
who take risks each day.
To keep Americans safe.
We know you are under enormous stress and pressure right now. Americans trust their military.
But that trust is at risk.
This administration is pitting our uniformed military
And intelligence community professionals.
against American citizens. Like us, you all swore an oath.
To protect and defend this Constitution.
Right now, the threats to our Constitution aren't just coming from abroad,
But from right here at home. Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
you must refuse illegal orders.
No one has to carry out orders that violate the law or our Constitution.
We know this is.
So then first, before we talk, I want to show you Trump's response, guys. Okay. So we saw what they said. Now let's see what Trump's response was. He said, seditious behavior punishable by death. He then retweeted a comment that said, hang them like George Washington would. Now,
what?
This. So let me give you my take first, Ben, and then because Ben was a lieutenant colonel, you coming from the commander side. I'm going to come from the guy. You're the guy who issued the orders. I was the guy who received the orders. So we'll see if we have two different takes. Okay. Here's my take. First of all, the Democrats did this. I think it's super douchey political theater for you to come out and tell U.S. service members you don't have to follow illegal orders. No shit, dude. That's like telling me, like, hey, remember to breathe air. Like, so you don't die. Remember to drink. Like, we know this. It's like you learn it in basic training. This is like, guys, this is like if me and Ben were on a target and we had, some mams, some military age males that we had detained. And Ben was like, hey, Nate, I need you to go execute all 5 of those guys. You know what I would say? No, sir. Like that.
But if they're moving tactically,
yeah,
that's different.
You know what I mean? Like, hey, go kill these unarmed like children.
Right.
No, sir, I'm not going to do that. Like, come on. Like, so this is just, it's obnoxious political pandering. Donald Trump is not telling people to go carry out, I haven't seen anything that's constituted as unlawful orders, right? It's ridiculous. However, let me also say from Trump's side of things, nothing they said was seditious. None of it was traitorous. They said what we tell all of our soldiers.
Right.
You don't have to follow illegal orders. So to me, this is two sides being dumb as fuck. Like,
100%.
What's your take on this?
I mean, I agree with you 100%. And so first thing I think about is that, I mean, everything you just said, like you give a great example. Like we think about this all the time. We talk about it all the time. But so let's go into the oaths we take to the Constitution. So the oath is to obey the orders of the officers appointed over me, right? To support and defend the Constitution. But then there's another second paragraph for the enlisted oath, the officer oath, all these things like that. And so they've already taken oaths, and they don't need you telling them that. The only thing that concerns me is that who is going to protect them when they say, that was an illegal order? Well, Nobody. They're going to be crushed. Where is this congressman, this senator going to be? Where is this? And just like you said, it's political theater to speak to the American people. It's really not even to the military. And I'm going to tell you something. So if you really want to pull that string, the military, by and large, a lot of times they don't trust these politicians. You know what I mean? The inside, they don't trust. They trust their units. They trust the military. And so you're only causing what like Russia and China would love to do, to create instability inside our units by saying things like that. And they're like, well, then people are going to start asking, especially the young ones, right? The young non-NCOs be asking, well, are there illegal orders? And there might be. We got to watch out for them. Well, what do we do if we see an illegal order? We hear one. Well, we're going to disobey it. Really? Well, guess what? Here comes Sergeant Smith. Bonk. Dude, I mean, come on. It's ridiculous. The first thing I thought, how irresponsible that they made something, especially former military members. You've lost your way making something. Now, President Trump was off the charts with the response as well, too. And I think he's a master of political theater and spectacle. So he's doing what he always does. But I just thought, come on now. And especially, then I see like this paratrooper ranger saying that, who is a troop leader, has been there. I don't know the rest of them.
Well,
But,
I did a whole episode.
Did you?
on
Okay,
Jason
better.
Crow. Jason Crow. Here, and this is what I was going to talk about. I'm going to talk
Okay.
about the people you just saw did it. Jason Crow is a gigantic piece of shit. He's one of the most hated people in Ranger Battalion. Defended pedophiles in his district multiple times.
Wow.
And I'll show you some more about him here in a second. First of all, though, comment, Nate, what happened to your No Foreign Wars? What have you been watching this episode? Is there anything in this episode that was my whole point that we should not invade Venezuela?
I think it's going on in the background. They're going back and forth between the fridge.
It must have missed my entire take. But here's another thing. When I start looking at, who are these politicians that are coming out and letting us know they're these America First politicians that are letting us know how much they care about America and the soldiers. It's like, let's pull up who you are. Mark Kelly, $500,000 from APAC. Okay, we know who you are. Yeah. Hold on, we got more. Alyssa Slotkin, again, CIA.
Great shot.
650,000 from APAC. Oh, who else here? Our friend Jason Crow, who pull him up. $250,000 from APAC. And yes, Jason Crow, gigantic scumbag. He's one of the guys, Ben, that when COVID was going on, he showed up to the soldiers and gave them a big speech, not wearing any mask, but forcing them all to wear masks. Wow. He forced them, sent his own National Guard to Washington, D.C. on January 6th. Like a lot of this stuff where you're just like, dude, you're a scumbag, man. Everybody in your unit hated you. I know people in your unit. They hated your guts. And so this isn't even the veterans that I respect that are coming forward and like doing this. It's the veterans who they don't care. Like, I shouldn't say they don't care about the country, but like, you haven't done anything that shows me policy wise you care about veterans. And now you're going to come out like to your point, like, oh guys, like you all you have to do if you see, if it's an illegal order, just, you defend the Constitution. It's like, yeah. And to your point, Ben, this is what you're going to set them up to do. And then what happens? Now, I'm not saying they shouldn't disobey 100%. Illegal orders, but it's something they think is the unlawful order. They're not sure. They disobey it to do the right thing, and they just get hammered by their command and they get kicked out of the military.
That's right. And then they're like, but wait a second.
Going to show up for that? No, he doesn't give a fuck.
Right.
But the other problem, though, is from the other side, from Trump and Republicans, the response to this was so stupid because, Carolyn Leavitt, this was her response to this. Her first response was, she said they're encouraging service members to not follow lawful orders. And the reporter said they're talking about illegal orders. And she says every order the president gives is lawful. So you have shit like this where you're like, no, this also.
And she doesn't know either. She's like,
she has no clue.
She's like 5 years old up there.
No, not correct. Yeah. If the president says, hey, go carry out genocide on all these children. No. That's not how it works.
Right. I mean.
And so that's where it's like the response from the Republican administration is also dumb as shit too, dude.
Right.
It's like, no, you don't call for the hanging of U.S. politicians because they said this stuff. Like, does this help?
Right. 100%. I think it doesn't help at all. I think all he had to do was just say, honestly, he could have been like, wow. He could have written wow. And he quoted what they said. Like, this is the most irresponsible, ridiculous. Once more, he could have used it to his advantage.
He got rage baited.
100%. He did.
He got rage baited.
He did.
Yeah, and he could have he is, I think, maybe probably the easiest guy in the world to rage bait, right?
Right.
He's so like not spontaneous, but like impulsive. He's so impulsive with his phone, that it's like if he would have stopped for a second and been like, okay, this was really dumb of them. We could use this as an opportunity. He could have come out and said,
right, totally.
Yeah, you obviously shouldn't follow unlawful orders. I don't want you to.
Yeah,
but
one
also
is unlawful
and then
order.
said, to your point, said how irresponsible of these people to say this to our young soldiers.
Right.
And this is why.
That's confusing.
He could have crushed it. And instead he went, hang them. And you're just like,
right. If he was like, start the tanks up, we're rolling to Chicago, and like we're gonna start rubbling buildings. Oh, they're not gonna move. They're gonna be like, okay, what's going on here? So I think again, these aren't the people, as you said, these aren't the people that the troops are like all fired up to listen to. Like, who are these people?
Yeah.
What are you talking? Get out of my face, man. You just sound like you're ridiculous. You know?
And I would bet the average soldier has no idea who any of those people are. They've never heard, and they won't even see that because they're not.
You know, 100% right now, every first sergeant major is like, okay, everyone get together. Let me tell you something. This is how it started.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. If you think, you know,
every senior
like,
NCO
yes, Sergeant,
in
they're all
the
young.
fucking office now.
Right.
We're gonna have a conversation.
100%. And, you know, and I could like probably look out my window when I was a battalion commander. I'd see a formation, see one of those things going on. I'd be like, okay, I know what's happening right now. It's a done deal, getting squashed. But
It's also dangerous too because like we're talking about in situations like you talk about real combat, man. Like there's going to be a time a commander says, "I need you to go take that hill."
That's it.
And that's a lawful order. You might die, and your entire unit might die doing it. That's a lawful order.
Yeah, right.
You know, and you have to carry it out because this is the job that you signed up for, and war is ugly, and you have to do it. And so you start instilling this into people's brains of like instilling that your leaders are giving unlawful orders on a regular basis, which is kind of what it felt like they were trying to do, was insinuate that like, hey, your military leaders are giving you unlawful orders, so make sure that you don't follow them. That to me is like, nah, man,
that's,
we don't.
And that's the thread that Trump pulled, why he reacted that way, because someone probably got in his ear and said that too, and he drew his own conclusions. But to your point, 100%, I agree with you that I think it's dangerous for the military. And it goes the other way too. Not only does it, you know, ruin military effectiveness, military culture, martial culture, I think, you know, it's known through history that the societies with a culture that is willing to sacrifice, they survive. Because unfortunately, it's hyper competitive in the international arena, you know, and we think everything's happy, kumbaya, but at some point there are countries and times in history where they want to stomp you out and kill you, you know, and so you have to have that strong military culture. And I take it the other direction too. The other direction is this, that the people they trust are in the military already. And if they start to see politicians as disruptors like that, that's dangerous too, where there's less trust in that environment. You know, I mean, they didn't do themselves any favor. I don't know what they were trying to do, but they didn't. Whatever they're doing, it didn't work. Stupid.
Well, I think they were just trying to make it look like Donald Trump is giving all these unlawful orders, which maybe people think he is, but sorry, he's not. I mean, and I don't agree with sending troops to National Guard soldiers to any of these cities. I've been advocate of saying like, I don't agree with this.
Right.
But it doesn't matter because it's not, what he's doing is not illegal.
Right.
And so it's not up to me. Just because I don't agree with it doesn't mean it's an unlawful order.
Right. Exactly.
So, all right, let's hit up. We got a couple minutes left. We were going to say we were going to look at Marjorie Taylor Greene's stepping down.
I can't believe it. Wow.
She gave, I guess, like a 30-second, a little 30-second thing here where she talked about it. So let's see what she had to say.
Political news tonight, and it is big breaking political news. Just moments ago, the Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene posted on her X account the announcement she's resigning next month. Her last, she says, January 5th.
I'll be resigning from office with my last day being January 5th, 2026. And I look forward to seeing many of you again sometime in the future. May God bless you all, and may God bless America.
Huh. I wonder what Chad thinks. Like, what is going on?
I wonder if she's running
here?
for something, or she's getting appointed for something, maybe?
Running for something's interesting.
Yeah. Maybe.
I couldn't see her just be like, I'm done with Congress.
Yeah, she seems too much of a firebrand. She is too much of a firebrand. Too much of a fighter, too. And she...
Governor. Somebody said governor, maybe.
There you go. Yeah.
No explanation at all.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's interesting. She seemed to be really gaining a lot of traction with this battle against the president. True.
She won. Her and Maskey won. They forced Trump to capitulate.
Yeah.
So that's what's so weird to me is like they didn't lose the battle. Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massey won the battle, and then she's going to resign immediately after like winning that battle.
Who knows what the cost is for that battle, though? You know, behind the scenes, who knows?
I don't know. All right, last couple super chats, guys, and then we are going to head on over to my buddy Chris's stream. I need to make sure I set it up so when we leave the stream, it automatically goes. Ben, we could probably have you give your goodbyes here.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Nate, it's been a real pleasure, man. Thank you so much for having me. Everybody's been a real pleasure being part of the Friday Night Live here. Nate's Valhalla Friday Night Live. I appreciate all the new subscribers, super chats, everything, guys. And come on over to my YouTube and check it out. Would love to see you guys in there. I'm usually live on Fridays at 6 p.m. Eastern time, 4 p.m. Eastern time. And I do now a new live interview Mondays at 1 p.m. Eastern time as well, too. So come on over for that. And hey, happy holidays. Happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy yourselves and stay safe.
Yeah. Thank you, Ben. Thanks for coming on. And I'll talk to you soon, buddy.
All right, brother. Thank you so much. Take care, man. We'll see you guys.
All right, see ya. See ya. All right, guys. So last couple super chats, and then let me set up so we can automatically all go over to Chris's stream, and we're going to talk about America First. All right. They want to get my take on what America First means. We're going to talk about a bunch of different stuff like that. So stand by while I get this. Give me 1 second while I make sure I do this correctly. Let's see. Okay. That still learning. Ian taught me how to do this, guys, so I want to make sure I do it correctly. So lose everybody. Here we go. That